Hi, and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann, and today I want to show you a really simple card focal using outline stickers and distress markers. I love this technique because it's so easy to make a really special card focal using just a few very simple supplies like outline stickers and pens. So let me show you how I've created this centerpiece. But first, I just want to point out, I don't know if you can really see in person that this is slightly glittery, and it's also dimensional. Of course, you can't touch it, but if you could touch it, you would feel that it's slightly dimensional. It's also got a very shiny effect to it. So as I'm tilting this here, don't get distracted by the Shimmer Sheetz back here, but if you can see that this is slightly glittery, slightly shiny, and it's got a really nice glaze effect on it, which makes it really tactile. Super easy to do, so let me bring in a piece of paper and I'll show you how I'm doing this. First, I'm going to start with a piece of watercolor paper, and I'm working with Fabriano's little watercolor pads. These are really nice because it's a nice small size. It's like a postcard size, and they're not very expensive, so you got 20 sheets, and it's 140-pound paper, so it's a nice sturdy weight. And watercolor paper, of course, is designed to accept water, so it makes it work with this technique. Now I'm also using an outline sticker, and this is from Elizabeth Craft Designs. And so I'm going to take off one of these tulip designs, and you can see that I just pull it right off, really easy to do, and then put this down onto my watercolor paper. Really easy to peel and stick. They look really fragile, but they're not. So I'm going to smooth this down. Sometimes with the really detailed outline stickers, I press this down and then smooth it to make sure that I've got all of those little bits down. Now the next thing I'll do is take a water mister and give this just a few slight spritzes. So I don't want it saturated, but I do want it to be wet enough so that when I start coloring, I get my ink moving around a little bit more. Now I'm using distress markers, and these are designed to work with water. So they are designed to react with water, which means that when I start coloring this, and I'm using the broad brush tip rather than the fine tip, when I start coloring this, it will react with the water, but because I don't have the whole area flooded with water, it reacts, but it reacts very subtly. So it's blending really nicely, but it's also not going outside the edges of my sticker. So the sticker's actually holding this in as the outline because it is dimensional. So let me come back in. That was the barn door that I used to color the flower with. And then this is peeled paint. Red and green. If you are ever deciding which pen colors to go for, I always go for red and green, or pink and green, or something so that I can color a flower. That's usually what I use markers for the most. So I'm going to just color in again. I'm not really getting all the way to the edges and things. I'm just coloring in most of the area here, and I'll show you why in a second. So I've got the leaves. And then I'm going to come in with a stormy sky. Again, using the brush tip for all of these. Come in and color the pot. And again, not being too overly careful. I'm going to cover the top and the bottom area, and I'll leave that band uncolored for right now. And you'll notice I went over the line a little bit there. That's okay, because I'm going to come in with a darker color. This is Faded Jeans. Again, using the brush tip, come in and color this area here. Okay, so I've got all of my flower colored. Quick and easy. Then I'm going to come back with my spritzer bottle once again and just spritz a couple of times. Then right away come in with a Kleenex tissue, paper towel, and blot. And then lift. And you'll see everything has blended. It's really soft, really pretty design. So now what I'm going to do is let this dry, and you can either zap it with a heat gun or you can let it dry as it is. And then I'm going to come back and add some more accents. This is all dry, and before I move on to the next portion of this, I should point out that if you feel that any of this is too faint, or maybe you want it to be a little bit more colorful or more vibrant, you can go back with the markers and repeat the process. Because it's watercolor paper, it will take a couple of applications, so you can carry on with it for a little bit longer, but do be aware you don't want to overwork it. So the next thing I'm going to do is add my Glossy Accents, and if you have diamond glaze, this can also work. It's a clear dimensional medium. So what I'll do, it's got a really nice fine nozzle tip you can see on here, and what I'm going to do is, as I squeeze, I'm going to scribble this on. And I'm really going through all of the areas, following the outline of the sticker. I'm not squeezing on a bunch, but if it goes on to or over some of the sticker, that's okay too. That's not going to matter a whole lot. But you don't want a big blob of this. You do want to work, fairly conservatively on this. Come in and do the stem of the flower and the leaves. Once again, just working through the area using that nozzle as a guide. And this is why having that fine nozzle tip really, really makes it easy. So you're basically just coloring in over where you've colored with this clear medium. And it's not going to take very long to do that. So all the way done. And if you can see as I'm wiggling this, you can probably see the wet shine in there. So that's that dimensional medium. And when this dries, it'll dry clear, but when it dries, it will still have that dimension to it, which is going to be really neat. But not just dimension, we also want a little bit of shine. So I'm working with some fine glitter, and this is clear glitter, kind of a whitish glitter. I bought this at Michael's probably a million years ago. You can see that even though I use it quite a lot, it's really lasted me a very long time. If you can't happen to find the same brand, Martha Stewart, Crystal Fine, just look for another very fine or ultra fine clear glitter, and this should work. And then what I'll do is just sprinkle this on. And where the dimensional, the Glossy Accents is, that's of course where that glitter is going to stick to. So all the rest of this on here, you can just tap it off, and then take a dry brush, a fluffy brush, and kind of go around. After this is dried, go around the outside edges and just make sure that you've gotten it all off of the rest of that watercolor paper. But then once you've done all of that, you have a clear, glittery, very subtle, pretty dimensional flower, which all started from one little outline sticker. I think it's amazing. So let me bring back in my original card here and show it to you one more time so you can see that once I've got this all dried, and you just need to set this aside and let the Glossy Accents dry, and I usually let it set aside overnight, it does the trick, and then matted it onto blue cardstock. Now this area here, this is Shimmer Sheetz, and it's made by the same company that does the outline stickers, Elizabeth Craft. And let me show you what a shimmer sheet looks like. This is, of course, a different color, but you can see it is very, very reflective. You can probably see, there's the camera. You can probably see me if I tilt it the right way. But it's a nice sturdy weight, but thin and lightweight mylar. So it's plastic, it's flexible. And the other nice thing about it is that you can put it into an embossing folder. And this is the tapestry, Cuttlebug. And just pop it in and run it through your embossing machine, and then you will get something that looks like this. So it's shiny and it's also dimensional, and it looks like metal to me. It's really cool. And what I think works really nicely when I'm combining the two of these is that this really supports the shine and the dimension on the focal piece here. You might think that something so shiny and reflective would take away from it, but it doesn't. I think it really interacts very nicely together. And then I just wrapped a piece of sheer ribbon around this matted area here, and then incorporated a couple of different colors of cardstock to match the colors of my pen work. So this is how to combine distress pens, glitter, and a peel-off sticker for a watercolor effect that really shines. I hope you enjoyed today's segment. For more inspiration, please do stop by my website at saranaumann.com. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.